First contact and betrayal. The void of space stretched endlessly before the UES Pathfinder as it glided silently through the star system designated GX 472. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge, her experienced eyes studying the holographic displays that surrounded her command station. The Pathfinder was humanity's newest deep space exploration vessel, equipped with advanced sensors and propulsion systems that allowed it to venture farther than any previous human ship. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the fourth planet," Lieutenant Marcus Chen reported, his fingers dancing across the sensor console. "The patterns are too regular to be natural." Elena straightened her uniform and moved to Chen's station. "Show me." The main view screen shifted to display a rocky, rust-colored world orbiting a distant sun. Data streams indicated periodic energy pulses emanating from its surface. "Those are communication signals," Elena concluded, excitement building in her chest. Humanity had encountered simple microbial life on Mars and Europa, but never anything capable of technology. This could be it. People. First contact. Commander Jameson, her second-in-command, approached with caution in his steps. "Should we notify Earth Command before proceeding?" "Protocol states we investigate potential intelligent life signals," Elena replied, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Besides, a transmission would take 7 weeks to reach Earth. We're on our own out here." Elena turned to Communications Officer Prisha Sharma. "Prepare standard first contact package. Universal mathematical sequences, basic chemistry models, and peaceful intentions." The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency as the Pathfinder approached the planet. After 3 days of transmitting messages toward the source of the signals, the sensors detected movement. "Captain." Chen called out, urgency in his voice. "Something's launching from the planet's surface." All eyes turned to the view screen as a sleek, silver vessel rose from the planet's atmosphere. Its design was unlike anything humans had ever conceived. Organic curves melded with geometric precision, the hull seeming to shimmer as if alive. "It's beautiful," whispered Prisha. Elena nodded in agreement but kept her focus. "Maintain distance. Continue broadcasting peaceful intentions." The alien ship approached gradually, its movements deliberate. When it reached a position 1,000 kilometers from the Pathfinder, it stopped. "We're receiving a transmission," Prisha announced, her hands trembling slightly. It's responding to our mathematical sequences with solutions and extensions." Elena felt a wave of emotion pass through her. This was what humanity had dreamed of for centuries. Proof they were not alone in the universe. "Can we establish visual communication?" she asked. "Working on it," Prisha replied. "Their data protocols are complex, but I think I can." The view screen flickered and resolved into an image that caused several crew members to gasp. The beings staring back at them resembled arthropods with iridescent exoskeletons. Multiple compound eyes were arranged around bulbous heads, and what appeared to be breathing apparatus surrounded mouth parts that moved in complex patterns. Elena stepped forward. "I am Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth ship Pathfinder. We come in peace as representatives of humanity." After a moment, a synthesized voice emerged from the ship's speakers. "We are the Kaveri. Your presence is unexpected." For the next 12 hours, the humans and the Kaveri exchanged information. The aliens seemed particularly interested in Earth's location, population, and military capabilities. Questions Elena answered with diplomatic care, emphasizing humanity's peaceful intentions. "Your species appears to have achieved much in a short evolutionary timespan," the Kaveri representative noted. "We would offer an exchange of cultural and technological information." Elena consulted with her senior staff, all of whom were excited by the prospect. "We would be honored," she finally replied. The Kaveri invited a small delegation to board their vessel. Elena selected herself, Commander Jameson, Lieutenant Chen, and Dr. Olivia Mukasa, their chief xenobiologist. As they prepared in the airlock, Elena couldn't shake a feeling of unease. "Something doesn't feel right," she confided to Jameson. He checked the seal on his environment suit. First contact jitters, Captain. Perfectly normal. Elena nodded, but kept her hand near the compact sidearm, concealed beneath her diplomatic overrobe, a precaution not listed in the first contact protocols. The Kaveri ship's interior was even more alien than its exterior, corridors that seemed to breathe, lighting that shifted in response to their presence, and gravity that fluctuated subtly as they moved deeper into the vessel. Their technology must be centuries beyond ours, Chen whispered in awe. Their hosts led them to a chamber with a large, circular table. Various artifacts were displayed, clearly selected to represent Kaveri culture and achievements. We wish to understand humans better, the lead Kaveri stated, gesturing toward the artifacts. Please, examine and learn. As Dr. Mukasov approached the table, Alina noticed a subtle shift in the Kaveri posture. The fine hairs on the back of her neck stood up, an evolutionary warning system that had saved human ancestors for millions of years. Wait, she commanded sharply. Too late. The chamber filled with a pale blue light, and Alina felt her muscles seize. Through paralyzed lips, she managed to activate her emergency beacon as she collapsed to the floor. Through increasingly dimming vision, she saw the Kaveri approaching with instruments she hadn't noticed before. Fascinating adaptability, one said. Their neural systems are primitive but efficient. They will make excellent subjects. With her last conscious thought, Alina realized the horrible truth. This wasn't a cultural exchange, it was a trap. When Alina regained consciousness, she was being dragged back to the Pathfinder's shuttle by Commander Jameson, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. How? She mumbled, her mouth still partially numb. Your emergency beacon, he gasped, pulling her along. Security team came looking. Firefight, Chen and Mukasa didn't make it. Behind them, alarms blared through the Kaveri ship. Alina forced her legs to work as they reached the shuttle. 3 security officers provided covering fire as they retreated, the strange weapons of the aliens leaving scorch marks on the shuttle's hull. Get us out of here, Alina ordered as they sealed the hatch. The shuttle pilot didn't need to be told twice. As they broke away from the Kaveri vessel, the alien ship's weapons systems came online. Evasive maneuvers, Alina shouted. Energy beams lanced through space, one grazing the shuttle and sending systems into failure. Ahead, the Pathfinder moved to position itself between the shuttle and the alien vessel. Captain, came the voice of Acting Commander Rivera over the comms. Shuttle is cleared for emergency docking in Bay 3. As they limped toward the Pathfinder, the main ship unleashed a barrage of defensive fire, not enough to destroy the Kaveri vessel, but sufficient to buy them time. The moment the shuttle was aboard, Alina dragged herself to the bridge, ignoring the ship's doctor who tried to examine her. Full power to engines, she ordered, collapsing into the command chair. Get us out of this system. The Pathfinder's engines flared to life, pushing the ship to its maximum velocity. The Kaveri vessel pursued, weapons firing. The Pathfinder shuddered under the assault, but its shields, designed to withstand micrometeoroid impacts and solar radiation, provided enough protection for them to reach the system's edge. FTL drive ready, Captain, the navigator announced. Alina stared at the pursuing alien ship. Jump. Stars streaked past as the Pathfinder escaped into faster-than-light travel. But Alina took no relief in their escape. 2 crew members were dead, and she had learned something terrible. Humanity's first encounter with an advanced alien civilization had revealed not friends, but predators. Set course for Earth, she ordered grimly. Maximum speed. We need to warn them. The journey back to Earth took 8 weeks at emergency speed, burning through fuel reserves at an alarming rate. During that time, Alina reviewed every second of data they had gathered on the Kaveri. Their technology was indeed centuries beyond human capabilities, particularly their weapons and propulsion systems. When the Pathfinder finally reached Earth orbit, the United Earth Defense Council was waiting. Admiral Takahashi, head of the Space Force, personally greeted Elena as she disembarked. "Your preliminary report was concerning," he said without preamble. Elena handed him a data crystal. "It's worse than what I could transmit. The Kaveri were cataloging us, Admiral, like specimens, and from what we could gather from their database before we escaped, we're not the first species they've encountered this way." Within hours, Elena found herself addressing the full Defense Council, recounting the encounter and presenting her recommendations. The room fell into a stunned silence when she finished. "You're certain they can track the Pathfinder back to Earth?" asked Counselor Okafor, her voice tight with concern. "Their sensors detected our engine signature," Elena confirmed. "It's only a matter of time before they follow it here." Admiral Takahashi stood. "Then we must prepare. Earth has never faced an external threat of this magnitude, but humanity has never backed down from a fight." The following months saw the greatest mobilization in human history. The colonies on Mars and Europa were fortified. Every available ship was retrofitted with weapons. New vessels were constructed in orbiting shipyards that operated around the clock. Elena, promoted to Commodore, was given command of the newly formed Human Defense Fleet's Rapid Response Division. As humanity prepared for war, she spent countless hours studying the Kaveri data, searching for any weakness they might exploit. "Their technology is superior," she admitted during a strategy session with Earth's top military minds, "but their tactics are rigid, almost ritualistic. They expect submission or predictable resistance. Humanity needs to be neither." And so, as the first Kaveri scout ships were detected at the edge of the solar system, humanity prepared not just with weapons, but with unpredictability, their greatest evolutionary advantage. The lessons of thousands of years of human warfare would now be applied to an enemy that had never encountered anything quite like the desperate creativity of the human spirit. Earth would not fall easily, and the Kaveri were about to learn what happened when humans were backed into a corner. The counterstrike. 3 months after the first Kaveri scouts were detected, Earth's orbital defense grid registered multiple FTL signatures approaching from the direction of Alpha Centauri. The alarm echoed through the command center of the UES Defiant, a flagship of humanity's newly formed battle fleet. Commodore Elena Reyes studied the holographic display showing 15 Kaveri warships entering the outer solar system. Their formations were precise, too precise, just as she had predicted from studying their previous encounters. "They're exactly where we expected them to be," she noted to Admiral Takahashi, who stood beside her on the bridge. The scout ships reported back, and they sent what they believed to be an overwhelming force. Takahashi nodded grimly. "Let's make them regret that assessment. Commence Operation Scattered Thunder." Elena opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Commodore Reyes. The enemy has arrived. Execute your assigned protocols. Remember, unpredictability is our ally." Unlike traditional military formations, the human defense fleet was arranged in what would appear to be chaos to outside observers. Some ships clustered near Jupiter's moons, others hidden in the asteroid belt. The Defiant itself led a small group that appeared to be the main defense force near Mars. The Kaveri approached with methodical precision, their formation a perfect geometric pattern that human military historians recognized from ancient battlefield tactics, a forward-facing wedge designed to break through enemy lines. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Commander Zhang, now Elena's tactical officer after being transferred from the Pathfinder. "Their weapons are charging." Elena allowed herself a tight smile. "Let them make the first move." The lead Kaveri vessel fired a brilliant beam of energy that sliced through space toward the Defiant. At the last possible moment, the human ship activated its newest defense system, not a traditional shield, but a gravitational deflector that bent the path of the energy weapon. The beam curved harmlessly past the Defiant and dissipated in space. A moment of silence passed on the bridge before Zhang spoke. It worked. Dr. Okafor's gravity manipulation technology actually worked. Elena didn't allow the crew time to celebrate. "All ships, execute evasive pattern delta. Weapons free." The human fleet erupted into motion, ships breaking formation and accelerating in seemingly random directions. The Kaveri, clearly confused by this response, attempted to adjust their formation to track the scattered vessels. "They're trying to regroup," Elena observed. "Deploy countermeasures." From the Earth's moon, concealed launchers fired thousands of small satellites that spread throughout the battle space. Each began broadcasting duplicate ship signatures, creating a sensor environment so chaotic that targeting systems would struggle to distinguish real vessels from decoys. "The Kaveri formation is breaking down," Zhang reported with satisfaction. "They're having trouble coordinating their attacks." This was the moment Elena had planned for. "Stealth group, commence your run." 5 human ships, equipped with experimental cloaking technology derived from studying the Kaveri's own sensor data, detached from the shadows of Mars' larger moon, Phobos. These vessels, smaller than the main warships but heavily armed, accelerated toward the now scattered alien formation. The stealth group struck with precision, targeting the propulsion systems of 3 Kaveri vessels before the aliens even registered their presence. The damaged alien ships spun out of formation, their elegant drives sputtering and failing. "Incredible," Takahashi breathed. They never saw them coming. "The Kaveri rely too heavily on their technological superiority," Elena explained. "They've never needed to develop the kind of tactical thinking that humans have refined through thousands of years of conflict against ourselves." The main Kaveri force recovered quickly, however. Their remaining ships regrouped and launched a coordinated attack on the stealth vessels, whose cloaking systems failed under the barrage. 2 human ships were destroyed in seconds, their crews having no time to evacuate. Elena felt each loss like a physical blow, but kept her voice steady. Phase 2. Release the drones. From bases on Mars and the moons of Jupiter, thousands of autonomous combat drones swarmed toward the battlefield. Unlike conventional weapons, these were guided by rudimentary AI systems programmed with randomized attack patterns based on everything from insect swarms to ancient guerrilla warfare tactics. The Kaveri, faced with targets that refused to behave according to any recognizable military doctrine, began to show signs of confusion. Their perfect formation dissolved as individual ships turned to deal with threats approaching from multiple vectors. "They're breaking formation completely," Zhang reported. "Their communication patterns are becoming erratic." Elena leaned forward in her command chair. "Now we press our advantage. All main battle groups, converge on designated targets. Jupiter Group, commence Operation Slingshot." From behind Jupiter emerged 5 of Earth's largest warships, using the gas giant's gravity to accelerate them to speeds that would have torn conventional vessels apart. These ships had been specially reinforced for this maneuver, a tactic no spacefaring civilization would consider sane. The massive human warships tore through the scattered Kaveri formation, conventional weapons blazing. As they passed, they deployed their secret weapons, boarding pods containing teams of combat specialists. "Boarding parties have attached to 3 Kaveri vessels," Zhang announced, surprise evident in his voice. "They're breaching the hulls now." Elena had gambled everything on this strategy. The Kaveri, with their technological superiority, never expected an enemy to physically board their vessels. It was a tactic from humanity's naval history, not space warfare doctrine. "Connect me to Strike Team Alpha," Elena ordered. The communications officer patched her through to Major Kenji Tanaka, commander of the boarding operation. "Status report, Major," Elena demanded. "We're inside, Commodore," came Tanaka's breathless reply, punctuated by sounds of combat. "Their interior defenses are minimal. They never expected anyone to get this far. We're proceeding to their central command node." The Kaveri ships began to move erratically, their perfect coordination completely shattered. Some attempted to shake off the boarding parties, while others tried to assist their compromised comrades. "They're panicking," Admiral Takahashi observed. "They have no protocol for this." Elena nodded. "That's the difference between us and them, Admiral. Humans have been fighting each other for millennia. We've learned to expect the unexpected. On the main view screen, one of the boarded Kaveri vessels suddenly went dark, its propulsion systems shutting down. Major Tanaka reports they've seized control of the first vessel's systems, Zhang announced. They're downloading its database and weapon schematics. A cheer went up around the bridge, quickly silenced by Alina's raised hand. This battle isn't over yet. The Kaveri still outnumber us. As if in response to her words, the remaining alien ships began to consolidate into a new formation. They positioned themselves in a defensive sphere, protecting their flagship at the center. They're adapting, Takahashi said with begrudging respect. Elena studied the new formation. Yes, but they're still thinking like a collective. Target their flagship. All ships. Converge fire on these coordinates. The human fleet responded instantly, redirecting their fire toward a single point in the Kaveri defensive sphere. The aliens, recognizing the threat, tightened their formation further. Major Tanaka, Elena called over the comm. Can you access their targeting systems? Working on it, Commodore, came the strained reply. Their system architecture is unusual, but we're making progress. Suddenly, the captured Kaveri vessel's weapons powered up. It fired not at the human fleet, but at its own allies, targeting the flagship hidden within the defensive sphere. Direct hit, Zhang shouted. The Kaveri flagship's shields are down. Elena didn't hesitate. All vessels, full assault on the flagship. Strike Team Alpha. Prepare for emergency extraction. The human fleet unleashed everything they had, their weapons converging on the now vulnerable Kaveri command ship. The alien vessels tried to reposition to protect their leader, but the confusion caused by the captured ship's betrayal had left them disorganized. Energy beams and kinetic projectiles tore through the flagship's hull. Secondary explosions blossomed across its surface as critical systems failed. The flagship is losing power, Zhang reported. Their command structure appears to be collapsing. On the shared tactical display, the remaining Kaveri ships began to move without coordination, some attempting to continue the fight while others pulled back. They rely on centralized command, Elena realized. Without their flagship, they can't coordinate effectively. Admiral Takahashi leaned forward. Press the advantage. Don't give them time to regroup. Elena nodded. All ships target the remaining vessels. Boarding teams prepare for extraction. The battle raged for another hour, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Kaveri, deprived of their leadership and facing tactics they couldn't predict, were systematically dismantled by the human fleet. By the time the last alien ship was disabled, Earth had lost 12 vessels and nearly 2,000 personnel. But the Kaveri invasion force had been completely neutralized. In the aftermath, as rescue operations commenced and the wounded were tended to, Elena stood quietly on the observation deck of the Defiant, watching the wreckage of alien and human ships drifting against the backdrop of Jupiter's massive form. Admiral Takahashi joined her, his uniform singed and torn from when a console had exploded during the battle. The analysts are already studying the data from the captured vessels, he said. What we've learned today will transform our understanding of space warfare. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the distant lights of Earth. And the Kaveri? Will they be back? Almost certainly, Takahashi replied. But they'll return to find a humanity that's no longer the easy prey they expected. The recovered data suggests they've never encountered a species that fought back this effectively. Elena turned to face him. Then we need to be ready. This was just the first battle. The Kaveri will adapt, just as we did. Next time, they won't underestimate us. Takahashi smiled grimly. Then we'll just have to stay one step ahead. Humanity has always been good at that. 3 months later, Elena stood on the bridge of the UES Intrepid, Earth's first warship built with reverse-engineered Kaveri technology. Behind her, a fleet of 50 vessels prepared to depart the solar system. All ships report ready, Commodore, Zhang reported from his station. Elena nodded. Set course for the Kaveri home system. It's time we introduced ourselves properly. As the human fleet jumped to FTL, leaving the familiar stars of Earth behind, Alina knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had survived its first contact with a hostile alien species, not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they were adaptive, creative, and unpredictable. The Kaveri had sought to categorize humans as specimens. Instead, they had awakened a species that refused to be cataloged or conquered. The galaxy would never be the same, and as the stars streaked past the viewports of the Intrepid, Alina couldn't help but feel that despite the losses, despite the challenges ahead, humanity had found its place among the stars, not as explorers or diplomats, but as warriors who would never surrender their right to exist. The Kaveri had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, the ability to face impossible odds and still find a way to prevail. That was a lesson the entire galaxy would soon learn.